Clara, at 53, finds herself awakening to a spark in her life that had long been dormant. Living in the charming city of Buffalo, New York, she spends her days in a beautiful home that feels increasingly empty, especially when her husband, David, is away on frequent business trips. The quiet solitude of her life contrasts starkly with the vibrant memories of her youth, leading her to an emotional crossroads. In her expansive backyard, Clara has cultivated a well-tended garden, a sanctuary that reflects her appreciation for the beauty of nature. Each flower and plant represents the care and dedication she pours into her surroundings, mirroring her own neglected dreams and desires. She often finds solace among the blooms, yet there's an underlying melancholy in her heart, an awareness of her unfulfilled aspirations and the emotional void left by David's absence. As she nurtures her garden, she longs for a connection that seems just out of reach. One sunny afternoon, as Clara is tending to her favorite rose bushes, she catches sight of Jake, the 25-year-old gardener hired to maintain the property. His athletic build and the confident way he maneuvers the gardening tools draw her attention. What initially starts as a fleeting admiration quickly evolves into a lingering fascination. Clara feels a flutter in her heart, a sensation she hasn't experienced in years. She tells herself it's merely a harmless fantasy, yet the attraction intensifies with each glimpse of Jake at work, his dedication bringing life to her once dull garden. Then, in a moment of spontaneity, Clara makes a decision that will alter the course of her life. She invites Jake over for a drink while David is away. As they sit together, a spark ignites during their first conversation, flooding Clara with excitement and nerves. This encounter serves as the catalyst for her emotional awakening, rekindling feelings of joy and possibility she thought were lost forever. Jake's youthful energy and charm become a refreshing contrast to her routine existence, leaving Clara yearning for more. Their interactions become a comforting ritual, especially during David's absences. Clara finds herself sharing stories of her past, revealing the adventurous spirit she once had but had kept hidden away. Jake, in return, opens up about his passion for gardening, and their conversations gradually deepen into something more meaningful. Each exchange fuels Clara's emotions, intensifying her longing while also creating a sense of turmoil within her. Caught in a web of desire and moral conflict, Clara grapples with her growing feelings for Jake and her commitment to David. The joy she feels in Jake's presence is overshadowed by guilt and confusion, leaving her at a crossroads. Each encounter with Jake makes her feel more alive, yet she remains acutely aware of the implications of her emotional entanglement. The tension builds, and Clara knows she must confront her feelings head-on, setting the stage for the choices that lie ahead. Clara notices Jake, the 25-year-old gardener, as he diligently works in her garden. His athletic build captivates her, and she can't help but admire the way he skillfully handles the gardening tools. Watching him, she feels an attraction that she initially brushes off as a mere fantasy, but the allure of his presence continues to grow, drawing her in like a moth to a flame. One afternoon, while tending to her beloved flowers, Clara surprises herself by inviting Jake for a drink while her husband, David, is away. The spontaneity of the invitation shocks her, but she feels an exhilarating rush at the thought of spending time with him. As they sit together on the patio, the atmosphere is charged with unspoken tension. Their first conversation is filled with laughter and shared stories, igniting something within Clara that she thought had long since extinguished. It feels refreshing to connect with someone who listens and engages with her so genuinely. Clara experiences a flutter of excitement, a sensation that has eluded her for years. She feels alive and invigorated, drawn to Jake's youthful spirit and genuine interest in her life. With each passing moment, her admiration for him deepens, and she begins to question the boundaries of her commitment to David. The thrill of this new connection contrasts sharply with the mundane routine of her marriage, and Clara finds herself yearning for more. After their initial meeting, Clara and Jake develop a routine of small interactions whenever David is away. Clara relishes the opportunity to share stories of her past, revealing her dreams and adventures from her youth. In return, Jake talks about his love for gardening, sharing insights into the beauty of nature that resonate with her. These exchanges create a bond that feels both exhilarating and daunting, amplifying Clara's internal conflict. As Clara continues to engage with Jake, she becomes increasingly aware of the emotional turmoil brewing within her. The joy she experiences in their conversations is accompanied by a rising sense of guilt, and she feels torn between her growing feelings for Jake and her obligation to her husband. Each meeting is a tantalizing mix of pleasure and apprehension, leaving Clara exhilarated yet burdened by her choices. Despite her growing attachment to Jake, Clara tries to navigate her feelings, fearing the consequences of her desires. However, as the days pass, she finds it harder to resist the pull he has on her heart. The emotional weight of her situation grows heavier, prompting her to confront her feelings with greater urgency. Clara knows she must face the truth about her desires, setting the stage for the bold decision that lies ahead, one that could change everything. As Clara and Jake continue to see each other during David's frequent absences, their interactions become more frequent and meaningful. Clara looks forward to each visit, the anticipation sparking a sense of excitement within her that she has not felt in years. Their small conversations evolve into deeper discussions, allowing Clara to share stories of her youth, adventures, dreams, and the vibrant life she once lived. Jake listens intently, his eyes reflecting a mix of admiration and curiosity, making her feel seen and valued. In these moments, Clara reveals her passion for art, reminiscing about the paintings she used to create before life became overshadowed by responsibilities and routine. She talks about the thrill of capturing nature's beauty on canvas, and Jake encourages her, suggesting she take up painting again. His enthusiasm ignites a flicker of hope in Clara's heart, reminding her of the person she once was, the woman who sought joy and fulfillment in the world around her. Jake shares his own experiences and dreams, discussing his love for gardening and how it connects him to the earth. He speaks passionately about planting flowers and watching them bloom, and Clara finds herself drawn to his zest for life. Their bond deepens with every shared laugh and heartfelt exchange, forging a connection that feels increasingly intimate and exhilarating. However, as their relationship grows, Clara grapples with an emotional struggle. She feels joy and vitality in Jake's presence, yet guilt gnaws at her conscience. The contrast between her mundane life with David and the electric chemistry she shares with Jake leaves her conflicted. She questions her choices and the implications of her feelings, struggling to reconcile her desires with her marital commitments. During one particularly revealing conversation, Clara admits to Jake how trapped she feels in her current life. She confesses that the years spent in a stagnant marriage have left her yearning for something more, something vibrant and alive. Jake, sensing her vulnerability, opens up about his own struggles, sharing his desire for adventure and connection. This moment of honesty draws them even closer, amplifying the emotional stakes of their relationship. The tension builds as Clara's longing for Jake intensifies, forcing her to confront the depth of her feelings. The exhilaration of their connection is met with a growing sense of dread, as she realizes that her feelings for Jake are becoming harder to ignore. Clara finds herself caught in a whirlwind of emotion, exhilarated by the thrill of their bond but terrified of the consequences it might bring. If you find it interesting, please like it. If not, please comment number 1. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this video. With each encounter, Clara is reminded of the woman she used to be, the one who dared to chase after her dreams. Yet, she also feels the weight of the choices she faces. The reality of her situation begins to settle in, and Clara knows she must make a decision that could irrevocably alter her life. Torn between the safety of her existing life and the tantalizing promise of something new, Clara stands at a crossroads, her heart racing with anticipation and fear. In a moment of desperation, Clara picks up her phone while David sleeps soundly in the next room. Her heart races as she dials Jake's number, a mix of excitement and fear coursing through her veins. It feels like an act of rebellion, a break from the monotony that has enveloped her life for so long. When Jake answers, his voice is warm and inviting, and she can't help but feel an overwhelming urge to see him. "Can you come over?" Clara asks, her voice barely above a whisper. There's a pause on the other end, and she can sense Jake's hesitation. However, the magnetic pull between them is undeniable, and he agrees, promising to arrive soon. Clara's pulse quickens at the thought of him coming over, a thrilling anticipation building within her. She is acutely aware of the weight of her choice, knowing that this meeting could change everything. When Jake arrives, the atmosphere is charged with unspoken emotions. Clara feels the tension hanging in the air as they sit together, both nervous yet drawn to one another. The silence stretches for a moment, filled with the electric energy of their connection. Clara steals glances at Jake, taking in the way his eyes sparkle with curiosity and desire. She knows this is a pivotal moment in their relationship, a line that, once crossed, cannot be uncrossed. As they begin to talk, the conversation shifts from casual pleasantries to deeper, more personal topics. Clara finds herself opening up about her life, her dreams, and the suffocating nature of her marriage. The vulnerability in her words seems to resonate with Jake, who leans in closer, captivated by her honesty. In turn, he reveals his own insecurities, his inexperience, and the fears that have held him back. Their shared vulnerability creates an intense bond between them, and Clara feels the tension mount. She glances at Jake's lips, and suddenly, it feels as if the world around them has faded away. The air thickens with anticipation as Clara makes a bold move. She admits her attraction to him, her voice trembling with honesty. Jake's expression shifts, a mixture of surprise and desire illuminating his features. He hesitates for a heartbeat, weighing the gravity of her confession. Finally, unable to resist the magnetic pull any longer, Jake takes her hand in his. The touch sends shivers down Clara's spine, igniting a fire within her that she thought had long since extinguished. Their eyes lock, and in that moment, everything else ceases to matter. The weight of their decisions hangs heavy, yet the connection they share is too powerful to deny. As their lips meet, it feels like a culmination of all the emotions that have been building between them. The kiss is tentative at first, filled with a mix of fear and longing. But as they explore this new territory together, the intensity deepens, and Clara feels a rush of exhilaration wash over her. This moment, this connection, is everything she has been yearning for, a glimpse of the passionate life she has longed to reclaim. In the wake of their kiss, Clara is flooded with a mix of joy and guilt. The reality of her choices looms large, but in that instant, all that matters is the intoxicating thrill of being with Jake. They share a tender moment, the world outside forgotten as they embrace the depth of their feelings, each acutely aware of the irreversible path they have chosen. As the kiss lingers, Clara feels an overwhelming mix of elation and guilt. The warmth of Jake's embrace surrounds her, and for the first time in years, she feels truly alive. Yet, the weight of her actions hangs heavily on her conscience. When they finally pull away, both breathless and flushed, the reality of what has just happened settles in, creating an atmosphere thick with unspoken words. Jake looks at Clara, his expression a mix of vulnerability and exhilaration. He hesitates for a moment, then admits his inexperience, revealing that he has never been in a situation like this before. Clara can sense his uncertainty, and it makes her heart ache for him. In that moment, she realizes how important this connection is to both of them, but she also knows the danger it poses. They shift their conversation from the excitement of their kiss to deeper reflections. Clara opens up about her fears, her worries about what this relationship means and the potential fallout from her actions. She confesses how long she has felt trapped in her marriage, yearning for a spark that has been missing for far too long. Jake listens intently, his gaze steady, providing a safe space for her vulnerability. This moment of intimacy is powerful, allowing Clara to articulate the conflict that has been brewing within her. As they sit close together, the intimacy of their surroundings amplifies the tension between them. Jake reaches out and takes Clara's hand, gently squeezing it as he reassures her that she is not alone in this. He shares his own struggles, revealing the dreams he has for his future and how they have often felt out of reach. Their shared stories forge a deeper bond, and Clara can't help but feel a sense of understanding and connection that she hasn't felt in ages. But as the reality of the night begins to sink in, Clara's heart races with anxiety. She knows that their moment of intimacy cannot be a mere fleeting escape. The thrill of their connection is now intertwined with the harsh realities of their lives. They both sit in silence for a moment, contemplating the implications of their actions. Clara feels torn, elated by the depth of her feelings for Jake but also overwhelmed by guilt for betraying David. Clara's mind races as she thinks about the possible consequences. She imagines David's reaction if he were to find out, and the thought sends a chill down her spine. Yet, she also recognizes that her encounter with Jake has awakened something deep within her, a longing for connection, passion, and fulfillment that she cannot ignore. As the minutes pass, the weight of their choices becomes increasingly apparent. Clara understands that this moment is pivotal, marking a crossroads in her life. She must confront the reality of her feelings and decide what path to take. The exhilaration of their connection feels both thrilling and dangerous, leaving Clara in a state of uncertainty as she grapples with the choices that lie ahead. As the night deepens, Clara knows it's time to face the complexities of her actions. She gently extricates herself from Jake's embrace, feeling the bittersweet ache of their connection linger in the air. The exhilaration that had initially filled her heart now mixes with a profound sense of reality, and Clara is aware of the burden of her choices weighing heavily on her conscience. Jake watches her with concern, sensing the shift in her demeanor. Clara takes a deep breath, feeling both empowered and vulnerable. "I can't keep living like this," she admits, her voice trembling slightly. "I need to figure out what I truly want." The words spill from her mouth, an acknowledgement of the emotional turmoil that has clouded her judgment for far too long. Jake nods, understanding the gravity of her statement, and the moment feels both like a release and a call to action. After a pause, Clara sends Jake away, her heart heavy with the knowledge that she is letting go of something precious. As she watches him leave, she feels a mixture of sadness and clarity. In his absence, she reflects on the profound impact he has had on her life, awakening her desires and challenging her to confront the realities of her existence. Clara recognizes that this moment, while painful, is also an opportunity for growth. Returning to the familiar space of her home, Clara is met with a sense of detachment. She lies next to David, who sleeps peacefully, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing within her. The silence feels deafening as Clara contemplates her choices, wrestling with the feelings of guilt and exhilaration that swirl within her. The connection she shared with Jake ignited something deep inside her, and she cannot shake the feelings of longing that remain. As she lays in bed, Clara reflects on her experience with Jake, recognizing that it has brought her a newfound energy and excitement. Yet, she grapples with the emotional fallout of her decisions. The thrill of their connection cannot be undone, and Clara is left with questions about her future. She contemplates what it would mean to pursue her own happiness, to embrace the passions she had neglected for so long. In the quiet of the night, Clara realizes that she must make a choice, not just about Jake, but about her own life. The realization brings a wave of determination. She understands that her happiness is worth pursuing, that she deserves to feel fulfilled and alive. This moment of clarity becomes a turning point, igniting a spark of courage within her. As dawn approaches, Clara feels a renewed sense of purpose. She is ready to confront the complexities of her life, acknowledging the joy and the pain intertwined in her journey. While the future remains uncertain, she knows that she has taken the first step toward reclaiming her identity and embracing the possibility of a life filled with connection and passion. Clara's heart beats with hope as she contemplates what lies ahead, aware that this experience has forever changed her. Thank you for listening. See you in the next episode. Take care of yourself and your loved ones. Goodbye.